You know, when you're in your early 20s and somebody who's older and has such an extremely, important collection brings you into that collection, you really do feel privileged.
C'était toujours des choix sincères, choisis dans son regard à elle.
It's not about just buying pieces that were ready, it was about creating something that makes history. And Pauline's house in Hydra is history.
Hydra, of course, has been, for creatives, a sanctuary for many, many years. And, most recently, of course, Leonard Cohen, the great songwriter and singer, had a house there. And when you go there, it's really fascinating because you feel as if you're walking in the kind of footsteps of the Greek gods. And of course, Pauline, for many years, had the Hydra workshop down in the port of Hydra, where every summer she would put on an exhibition of a unheard of or very unknown young artist who actually in the period of time that she put on these exhibitions would go on to become incredibly successful artists. So in many ways, Pauline is a tastemaker and being years ahead of the rest of the art market. From the kind of, the busyness of the port, it's just a few steps kind of just around one of the heads of the island that one heads out onto this wonderful kind of walkway. And about 500 yards after Hydra, or even a little further, you came across this extraordinary white wall. The moment you opened the gate and doors of the Bodoris mansion, you knew you were going into a sanctuary.
It was quite extraordinary. One didn't think it at the time. But there was Jacques Grange, the grand seigneur, as she called him, of interior decoration in Paris.
Là, l'été d'entrée t'accueillait dans la maison. Non, il est là comme un géant qui t'accueille. Ça, c'est les rampes. Ça, c'est Claude. Le serpent qui monte sur le rang de l'escalier. Donc ça donnait un sens. On suivait la tête du serpent, puis on tournait. Elle adore les serpents, comme Yves Saint Laurent, qui adorait les serpents. Peut-être lui qui lui a donné le goût.
I think that Pauline's journey as a collector has been incredibly rigorous. It's one that's really been defined by an endless search, if you like, for the very, very best. And hers is an eye which is not only innovative, but I think also highly rigorous. She reads constantly, she goes and looks constantly. She searches out relationships with artists.
I can't really remember exactly how, but we became friends. Either she invited me to dinner or something of that nature. I started to realize that Pauline was one of these exceptional women that was very extravagant and extremely eccentric.
She's constantly asking, what have you seen? What's new? What's great?
She just has an instinct for finding younger artists that will fit together.
Cette confiance qu'elle a avec les artistes est une manière artistique, elle aussi, est une artiste, de mélanger tout ça, parce que la mise en scène artistique, elle le fait avec moi, mais elle le fait aussi elle. Sa chimie, c'est mettre en scène tous ces artistes.
The house in Hydra was a revelation. It was going to be for her an extraordinary journey, a journey of putting together her vision, of her Orientalism, of her taste that succeeded over the years. It was so important, the relationship between Mattia Bonetti, of André Debray, of Claude Lalanne.
L'émotion, c'est cette cour centrale avec l'énorme arbre qui domine cet endroit. D'ailleurs, qu'on a accentué en demandant à Claude de faire le banc autour. Et après, il y a ces niveaux sur la mer, l'impression d'un paradis. C'est comme un secret qu'on va découvrir.
The most beautiful part of it is to see a woman who was so obsessed with creating beauty. It was her perfection, which she called a demon, but it was perfection. Every single thing she thought about, she would dream about the Orientalism. It was so crucial for her to get it right. The contemporary art, to be a patron of the arts, to be a patron of design. It's not about just buying pieces that were ready, it was about creating something that makes history.
She started, of course, actually under the tutelage of the renowned Surrealist and modern art dealer Alexander Yolas, who famously came out of retirement just to help advise Pauline and her late husband Dinos.
Elle était une élève docile au début, comme moi je l'ai connue, et puis après c'est parti comme une fusée.
Having that base of real understanding and great knowledge of Surrealist art has enabled her also to have a springboard into the world of contemporary art. All of these artists, of course, have been hugely inspired by Surrealist art.
You know, my art really held up amongst these great artists that she had. And, you know, it's a good feeling as an artist to know that when you are mixed together with painters whose works you really admire and artists who are influential to you, what came before you is what gives birth to you as a painter. And Pauline really understood that as a collector and as her instincts about the idea of how the evolution of art moves and how, you know, the various languages that are incorporated into your work continue a dialogue with the work that came before you.
I think for me, one of the most exciting things about this auction, or series of auctions taking place in Paris on the 30th and 31st of October, is the capacity for the market to acquire works from one of the most esteemed collections put together in the last 50 years. Here is the ability to buy artists which were bought, in some cases 40 years ago, by some of the artistic stars of today. You know, I think for any aspiring or aspirational collector, this is truly a wonderful and very rare opportunity.